Hey gang, welcome to another edition of Doc's Dumpster, where it's a review of the movie Mr. Magoo. Oh, goodness. Well, Mr. Magoo and his nephew Waldo somehow, someway get sort of involved in a jewel heist in which some jewel thieves, obviously, want to try and take a ruby called the Star of Kiristan. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. Well, one of the jewel thieves tricks Mr. Magoo into thinking that she likes him, and Mr. Magoo just says, alright, I'll go with it. And Waldo winds up falling in love with a princess played by Jennifer Garner, whose name I really can't remember because it was too tough to remember. So at one point Luann tries to make it sound like and seem like that she's actually with the good guys, but in all honesty she's not, of course. She wants the ruby, and her assistant named Bob is also trying to get at the ruby. They have a big fight. At one point the ruby winds up somehow in Mr. Magoo's fishing boat. Of course he doesn't realize this the whole time, and he's got pretty much everybody in the world after him. FBI agents, Luann, Bob, their boss named Austin, and it becomes one big crazy slapstick sort of comedy. At some point when Luann tricks Waldo and Magoo to try to go after Bob, who takes off in, I believe, it's Magoo's Studebaker, he winds up driving his eggplant mobile. Okay. Eventually they all wind up at Austin's place, where he's having an auction for the ruby. But the thing is, he gets a bunch of thieves from around the world, and Magoo poses as one of the thieves with some sort of a tattoo on his chest, which was drawn on by marker. And the bad part about it is that the auction is going to be held in a pool. So Magoo steps into the pool, the fake tattoo runs right off, he's kind of exposed. Luann takes off on a snowmobile, Magoo takes off after her on an ironing board. She eventually gets caught, gets put behind bars with Bob, and Magoo and his dog wind up, and his dog Angus wind up going home, pretty much sort of kind of saving the day. The movie starred Leslie Nielsen, Kelly Lynch, Ernie Hudson, Jennifer Garner, and Malcolm McDowell. Movie was on a budget of $30 million, made $22 million. Not good. But the big question is, does this movie belong in a dumpster? Yeah. I really did not like this movie. I thought Leslie Nielsen was one of the funniest guys I ever watched on screen, but why on earth did they want to turn this into a live-action movie with a guy who was not short, who was balding? I mean, Mr. Magoo was short and completely bald, not a hair on his head. I guess Walt Disney thought, hey, let's get that guy from the Naked Gun to play Mr. Magoo. Nobody's going to know the difference. I think a lot of people knew a big difference. In fact, the movie was actually pulled from theaters within 2 weeks. Not because it didn't do that well at the box office. It's mainly due to the fact that it got a negative reaction from blind and nearsighted groups. Let me read that to you one more time. It was pulled from theaters in 2 weeks, mainly due to negative reactions from blind and nearsighted groups. You can't make that up. But yes, Mr. Magoo is a really bad movie. I have no idea who they could have cast in this movie, but it shouldn't have been a guy who was around 6 feet tall and everything like that. This movie is an atrocious bad comedy. It's definitely not one of Walt Disney's best movies, and I don't even know how in the world they got the rights to do this movie, but I'm sure they regret it, and they'd probably give the money back in a heartbeat. But there you guys have it. A review of Mr. Magoo. If you like my videos, feel free to subscribe, and if you've got a movie that you think belongs in a dumpster, and hopefully it lands in there without any kind of trouble seeing you throwing it in there, send it my way and I'll get on it ASAP. Thank you guys so very, very much for watching, and until next time, as always, stay strong and rock on.